It's about, actually right now, look, it's 11:59, November 6th. And pretty soon it's going to be hit 12 o'clock, high noon. And it's really special to me, like, you know, I don't know why. I don't know why 12 o'clock high noon is special to me. Like it means something. I don't know, you know, like maybe like high noon or something like that is supposed to be like, you know, the best part of the day or something. I'm not sure. But it ain't the special part of the day for me right now. Because I really don't have my inclinations telling me that 12 o'clock high noon is any more special than any other time of the day. Midnight is another special time though. And these things are special. I ain't gonna take that away. There's a lot of things that are special to me, like 6:33. You know why? Because when I was a kid, I memorized, and I believe it was Matthew 6:33. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, or the kingdom of God. Can't remember how it goes. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things shall be added unto you. And it's it's faith in that kind of a hope that drives a lot of people on and helps them to overcome the miasmal mist of gloominess and despair that embodies us like a fish in water. But you know, I know I'm not just speaking, it's not my life in particular, it's everybody's lives. Because nobody escapes it. Even Jesus said, and this is why I believe a lot of the things that I learned, you know, from the Bible. That the rain and the sunshine will fall on the just and the unjust alike. And this is a sobering and somber truth. Nobody escapes hell. And nobody escapes life. And hopefully heaven will be the final destination. But those kind of things are helpful to help a person to carry on, because if a person loses heart, most of the times that's, you know, when they will die. And you know, I actually just woke up a little bit ago, and you know, I've still got an ache in my heart. And you know, from Boomer, I mean, look, I can remember, man, my last moments with him. I know what it is to look into his eyes. And I love Boomer. And Boomer, you know, look, I know, I'm sure it was Boomer, okay? Connie, who was a dog of mine, she hurt her back, and then she couldn't use her back legs, and I had to take her in because she couldn't even, like, you go stand up and use the bathroom. And I don't know what happened to her, but you know, something told me, I think it was Boomer, because he was so strong, and like, I think Boomer inadvertently hurt her, like, you know, because dogs, you know, will, you know, they ain't gonna attack. Sometimes they will attack to kill, all right? Because even my dogs have killed dogs, and I had to get a cattle prod, you know, when my dogs were younger. Sometimes they'd get into a fight about something, you know. Like one thing, okay, somebody comes walking by the fence or something, you know, and dogs run out there and start barking. Okay, well, they'll get into a fight just because one dog is hindering another dog from saying what that dog wants to say to the person across the fence. And then they'll start fighting each other. That's kind of a good metaphor, you know, because I think in politics, I think that's how it happens, you know, like, it is what happens. The Democrats and the Republicans fight each other, and that's exactly what the oligarchs want, because they get the fallout. There's so many layers of reality. That's why The Onion is the perfect example of peeling away the layers of life. And the outer layers are usually kind of callous and tough. And you get into the inner layers, you get into the stuff with the most tenderness and juice and stuff like that, like in an onion. They even make your eyes water. Unless maybe it's a sweet onion, I don't think they make your eyes water. But some onions make your eyes water. You start cutting them. And things that are in my mind, like, you know, like I remember, and why these things come up, they come up, look, it's not out of the bubbles and scum. A lot of stuff does come out of the bubbles and scum. Even human beings come up out of the bubbles and scum. The swamp. They say we came from the swamp in Africa, where life forms assimilated together, and something happened. And that happened. And what happened was human beings. And other people believe, you know, that, you know, we were planted on Earth with like seeds from other galaxies and stuff like that, you know, of intelligent forms. But look, I woke up very, very depressed. In fact, I'm still depressed, but hey, listening to, yeah. Yeah. About three eye atlas. That's the third interstellar. The third interstellar thing came in from another galaxy into our galaxy. You know. They think they know where it came from. It came from this place that is kind of like a void of planets and a lot of debris and stuff. I don't know. That's what I heard. Because I listened to them. Well, this one was playing for a long time. Because look, this thing is live. It's been live for one day. Look, Here, it's been live for 1 day. It says this is 57 people are watching it. It started 1 day ago. I'm one of the 57 people, I guess. Because I listen to stuff, but the thing is, some of it now is classified already. Seriously, the logs. Okay, they keep. There's a lot of. I think that it mostly only can be seen from satellites, but we don't. China also has stuff, all right, and China will say stuff, and like America won't say or something. And since we have internet now, I mean, we can be privy to a lot of stuff from different perspectives, and that's why if you want to find out about America, or how America is viewed in the world, don't listen to American news. Listen to the news from other countries like Russia or China. You can't trust Russia too much because they're like a big propaganda arm. It's like America also has a big propaganda arm. All right, but you can listen to other countries. BBC. I always like to listen to the BBC and get their take on things. How they viewing things, and then you have a better idea, about just what it is and what it really is. Okay, the situation. But look, just to go back, it's just that, I had to put Boomer down, and I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. And if I die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. God bless Daddy. God bless Mommy. God bless Auntie. God bless brother. God bless sister. Everybody like that. And it'd be nice, if we could just lay ourselves down to sleep and the Lord would take us easy. But that ain't the way it happens. Okay, so Boomer, I'm just saying about Boomer, I had to put Connie down, and I think it was from Boomer. And not the first dog. Boomer was, I love Boomer with all my heart, and Boomer was a good dog, and he was like on the spot, even though he was the biggest, fattest, monstrous dog. He was the first one on the spot, man. He was there. Bam. He charged. And he was a boss. And he'd take the food from anybody, even when he was a little puppy. That's why I named him, because even as a 1-month-old puppy, okay? Yeah, he showed who he was. And he was kind of like Donald Trump. But he was a lot more pure and innocent and loving than Donald Trump. And he had a heart. And Donald Trump ain't got a heart. I don't think so. I don't think he does. I think he's I think he's like a sociopath. In fact, he has been called a sociopath. In conjunction with being a malignant narcissist. He is also, by nature and his constitutional psychological workings, that stuff he's made of, he is sociopath because he's really only self-centered and void of feeling about anybody else. The whole world revolves around him and nothing else matters except for him. And that's the way of a sociopath, but sociopath is even worse than that, because sociopath it enjoys inflicting pain and suffering on other people just to feel powerful. And while I realize that some people are like that, it's hard for me to understand how that could be. But I knew a guy. He told me he was a sociopath. He told me doctors told him he was a sociopath. I sold him my motorcycle. Something happened, and I was gonna like hold off, like I wasn't gonna give him the bike until, I don't know, until he paid me in full or something like that. Man, he started crying and stuff. Like, he really needed that bike. He really, like, his life depended on that motorcycle. It was my Honda Shadow. And so even a sociopath will cry. And I knew his mom, and she told me that he was oxygen deprived, and this happens to be, this is not the first baby I have known that has suffered something in their mother's womb, like either mom being punched in the stomach when she was pregnant, or and then oxygen deprivation or something, and then when they're born, you know, they become like a sociopath or something, you know, because their brain, or, I mean, like, when I was in, you know, 4th and 5th grade in elementary school, where I went to school at, they had a room, the kids with mental retardation and handicaps of some type, you know, went to, and some of them, you could tell that they were different by looking at them, and there's a notable difference in the way they would talk and the way they would reason, and like young children, you know, might call them like the retards or something. And then I've known people that had Down syndrome. One little girl wrote me a poem or a letter or something, you know, like saying how much you liked me or something like that, you know, or what a nice person I was or something. I don't remember, but she wrote me, and she had Down syndrome, and the people with Down syndrome, you know, they're like really, really like loving, and the combination of somebody being really loving but having dysphoria that they have to suffer with throughout their whole life, and they don't really take that into the consideration of like adjudicating what's fair and what's not fair, or how things should be, and if it's not that way, you know, the only one response is bitterness and anger. No, they don't make those computations. And that's the way with the animals. And see, I had to put Boomer down, and it still breaks my heart. The memory of that breaks my heart. And I'm thinking, like, okay, like, so when I seen him before I took him in, I was saying, like, Lord, like, can't you just like take him, take his soul, take his spirit, you know, and I'll find a way to drag him out and put him in a hole and bury him. But it didn't matter what I thought or what I prayed, because what was going to be was going to be. All right, this thing about 3-1 Atlas, and I keep thinking of Bob Dylan, his movie I've seen with that he made, you know, I think it might have been called Ramona or something, and because Ramona is a beautiful song. I like Ramona and Highway 61 joined together. But in this thing that he directed this movie. I think he directed it. He involved in the making of it and stuff, you know. But this guy who's loving on all the animals had like a nice little rabbit bunny, you know, holding it in his arm like this, you know, petting it nicely and everything, and he's, you know, takes care of all the animals and stuff like that. Well, and then he puts he's petting the animal, loving the animal, puts it down, and then he takes a big long knife, like long heavy, not quite a machete, but like a small machete, and then bam, whacks off his head, and that bunny is gone. Well, and then that bunny was food, slaughtered for the food, you know. And I used to go with my brothers, you know, rabbit hunting, and then my stepmom would cook them because she was a Cherokee Indian from Kentucky. And she cooked rabbit. It was good. But you have to kind of grow up with killing animals to think that it's fair and right and be okay with it. And some people are. And when I lived in Wisconsin and Indiana and both places, big hunting in Wisconsin, especially for deer, people would get off school and be able to take off like a couple of weeks for deer hunting season, and they'd go out with their dads and stuff, you know, hunting deer. I knew kids that would be, oh man, I shot a 8-point buck or something like that, you know. And then, you know, my feeling would be like the story about Bambi. And anyway, the thing is, you know, I don't know, in the back of my mind, it's kind of like I was that guy loving on Boomer and then whacking his head off. Because, I mean, I had him in my truck, and I was giving him water and singing to him. And it was the last day. And so I was that guy. Not really, though. 'Cause I wasn't gonna eat him or nothing. But the juxtaposition I'm making is like with this 3-1 Atlas, because they've already made some of the logs classified. All right, but there's enough out there. Okay, they make some of these anomalies classified, like so people like me and you know, can't like actually see or know the truth. There's this one movie, you know, with Jack Nicholson. You know, he was in court. He said, "You can't handle the truth." Well, this is what I woke up to. You know, I'm feeling like the cover. You know, as a little kid, you know, hiding under the cover and looking out of a peek hole. Okay, make sure I'm safe, you know. Yeah. And you know, like I said, this a third interstellar thing that they've tracked called Atlas. Big thing. I've seen a lot of pictures of it and everything, you know. And I've listened to a lot of the studies about it because I think it might be gone now. But they said this thing is not acting like a meteorite or something, you know, is being hurled through space, you know. Because even like when it got close to the sun, when it went into this peripheral paraphenol or something like that, area where the sun and the heat and the rays from the sun would make a normal every other meteorite start blowing off like all kinds of colors and stuff because of the because of the gases and the things melting and everything like that, and like fireworks or something. And they can tell by what emanates from it, like what it's made out of and stuff. They said this thing is more like a crystal than anything else. But they said that it has movement without cause. That's just one of the anomalies. Okay, they had a lot. They talk about this thing like, here, I don't even know what they're going to say. But look, I want to.
Defines galaxies, hurricanes, and the spiral of seashells. The golden ratio, phi. In the language of mathematics, it was not random. It was intention. At first, the signal was dismissed as interference, plasma echoes perhaps, or reflections from ionized particles left trailing behind the interstellar visitor.
The interstellar visitor
contained a symmetry unlike natural noise. Fourier analysis revealed nested frequencies, harmonics structured across octaves of the electromagnetic spectrum. Each layer reflected another, forming a recursive geometry, order hidden within apparent chaos. For the scientist of the ship,
order hidden within I forget what the describing word was, but order hidden within chaos. Well, look, I better get that one. Order hidden within. Let's see if I can do it. Let's see.
not strong, not loud, but precise. Every 1.618 seconds, the same harmonic interval repeated. The rhythm was mathematical, unwavering, echoing the ratio that defines galaxies, hurricanes, and the spiral of seashells. The golden ratio, phi. In the language of mathematics, it was not random. It was intention. At first, the signal was dismissed as interference,
Here it comes.
plasma echoes perhaps, or reflections from ionized particles left trailing behind the interstellar visitor. But the pulse contained a symmetry unlike natural noise. Fourier analysis revealed nested frequencies, harmonics structured across octaves of the electromagnetic spectrum. Each layer reflected another, forming a recursive geometry, order hidden within apparent chaos.
Okay.
For the scientists at the Xinjiang Observatory,
Order hidden within apparent chaos. Okay, I had to get that word, the apparent chaos. Order hidden within apparent chaos, because apparently it's chaos. Apparently. That's what appears. Chaos. But order hidden. See? And because it's cloaked under the cover, you know. But you know, a lot of times, you know, the government pulls the cover over our eyes, you know, so we don't really know what's going on, because we can't handle the truth. And it's kind of irritating to me, because no, I can handle the truth. All right, just don't trick me. And that's what I'm gonna call this one. And my youngest boy, who I just come in contact with again, you know, after a season of silence, and he was little, you know, he told me, he said he don't like surprises. Hey. You know, like I was planning like a surprise, you know, birthday party for him or something, and he didn't like surprises. He told me. He was little, real little. I'm talking about, like, you know, little, like, I don't know, like 5 or something. And it's not just order hidden within apparent chaos. It's like that animal, that you're holding in your arms and you put it down on the table and chop its head off. And the acknowledgement and the realization of the truth of that is what I woke up to this morning. And surprise, surprise. Well, is why in the Bible it says that ignorance is bliss. And that's why people self-medicate, you know. And believing a lie is sometimes easier than acknowledging the truth. And so that's why, you know, there's such a thing as, you know, cults. C-U-L-T-S. That people get sucked into cults because they want to believe something. Like one cult is cult of Donald Trump. They want to believe that Donald Trump, you know, is gonna bring us to the promised land. Well, they're not thinking that anymore because they've been hoodwinked. Look, that's kind of like what I felt like I did to Boomer. I hoodwinked him. And that's what it is. I've been trying to think of the description word for that feeling, and now I just thought of it. It just came to me, hoodwinked. And sometimes I feel like, you know, we get glimpses. Like I just have been learning a little bit about the Akashic record, and I made reference to it in one of my last talks. You know I did. And sometimes it seems like we get a glimpse of reality, but in most of our lives, we live our lives hoodwinked. And because life can be really, really scary. When I was a little boy, my stepdad would chase us like he was a monster, and I actually it became so real to me that I felt like I was running from my real life. And I was scared of him. But I think he was just playing. But man, I got scared. Plus, because he was kind of mean anyway sometimes. You know, he'd go like that and flick your ear like that, like for some reason, like if you did something wrong or something, you know, or not paying attention. He was a German guy, you know, he'd numbskull. He'd say, "You numbskull," bam, flick you in the ear, and it hurt. Okay, it actually did hurt, you know. You're gonna do something illegally, okay, it really hurt, but it's not like he's gonna get in trouble for that. And this is way before you couldn't, like, you know, spank your kids and stuff. Now it's like you can't spank your kids. Okay, back then, no, you can get a spanking. You can get a spanking with a belt, a paddle, a hand. And so this 3-1 Atlas, you know, they can't explain it. They can't explain how it can just stop and then change course and directions, and where is the propulsion coming from? Okay, there's a lot of stuff, and even how they think this thing has got to be really, really old, from a very long civilization, a long time ago. But I'm cutting this one off now because I'm at 34 minutes, and I'm just talking about my feelings, and it's a introjective, extrojective kind of projection inside, projection outside. Okay, juxtaposing the processes and the realities, and as it is in the out, so it is in the in. And I'm just saying that I had to hoodwink Boomer, kinda. I mean, I had to let him down easy. Well, you know, the prevailing feeling I have is, in one way or another, we've all been hoodwinked. And we continue to be hoodwinked. And I'm just saying, now I lay me down to sleep, pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. And I hope there's something better for us. A good God. And love. Alright, that's it. Bye.